Over the years, our kids have had a lot of illnesses. 6 kids means a lot of childhood sniffles and coughs. And when our kids weren't feeling well, it affected our entire home. Luckily, some clever guys in Brisbane have come up with the perfect solution: Rehydrate.
Rehydrate are delicious drinks that rehydrate up to 3 times faster than water alone, packed with essential electrolytes. Rehydrate is one of the few rehydration products that is safe for all ages. Stock up at Coles and be prepared whenever illness strikes.
This is the Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson. We're Luke and Susie, and this is the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
My wife waxed my legs for me last night.
Really?
I can't believe I just told you that.
What?
I don't know why
you bring it up to go, why do you bring it up? Oh, by the way.
I don't know why I brought that up.
And that was all right? You survived it? Have you done that before?
Yeah, it's been I can't believe I'm talking about my... Is it depilatory? Is that the word?
Yeah, it's close,
the hair removal thing? I can't believe I'm talking about that with you right now on
radio for everyone to hear.
New intro for next week.
on this show.
Not so closet man whose wife shaves his legs.
We've got a great question for you to take a look at today. How can my husband stay close to our daughter as she goes through adolescence and is becoming a bit uncomfortable around men? I've been a teenage daughter, going through that phase of feeling a bit uncomfortable around men and having to navigate a relationship with my dad through that. So I'm very keen to hear what you have to say here, because I think it'll be a comfort to mums and dads.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Tell me a bit more about... Oh, sorry, I'm stepping into my psychology.
Yeah, okay. So I grew up in a relationship. We would kiss each other goodnight every night, mum and dad and I, well, my sister and I. We were lip kisses through when we were little, but there came a point where it was like, it's not okay anymore.
See, there's
I'm
a
not
topic right
interested.
there.
Yeah.
The lip kiss. We'll do
Yeah.
that another time, but the lip kiss is a fiery topic for parents.
I chose that. Like, I remember specifically having time going, I don't feel comfortable with that anymore. And it was just okay. Like, there was no questions about it. There was no need for an explanation. It was just I led the change, and that was fine. But I do remember I've always been very protective of my personal space with men. There are men I feel very comfortable with and others that I don't. And it's sort of like I kind of felt like my dad was almost like the gauge that helped me figure out who was safe and who wasn't through that time. And so it's almost like, it's hard to explain, but it's almost like I learnt to be uncomfortable with my dad to figure out how to handle it if I'm uncomfortable with other men, even though I was comfortable and felt very safe with my father. Does that make sense?
It's really interesting to hear you talk about that. In asking teenage girls about their lives for my book about teenage girls, which comes out in January, February 2020, the idea that they would feel uncomfortable around males came up consistently. It was not an overriding concern. It wasn't a big thing, but many girls talked about having concerns and questions about their safety. So to hear this question, to hear that daughter is pulling away from dad, dad's trying to remain close, wanting to be involved, but there's a definite growing apart, and a daughter starting to feel a bit uncomfortable around men. It's not what I would call unusual at all. The real question at the heart of this person's email, my sense, is that dad doesn't want to lose his little girl.
Yeah.
He loves her. He wants to be close, and naturally, developmentally, it's appropriate that as a teenager, whether whether you've got a son or a daughter, our teenagers are designed to begin to move away from us and towards their peers and towards their own independent life.
It strikes me that this is the phase with daughters, much like you've sat in the studio and talked to us about when we've got 3 young boys, that there's a certain age where our boys are mummies, and then they switch their need to get more from daddy, that this is just a stage of development that is natural for a girl to have. The relationship's going to change. That doesn't mean it's not close or that she doesn't love her dad, but it's automatically going to change and let it be, in a sense.
Dads have got to stay involved to the extent that they can, to the extent that they're safe. I've always got to put these caveats in because some dads simply don't know how to be safe for their children. But assuming, as is the case with almost everybody, that dad is safe, even if dad doesn't live in the same house, or if there's a stepdad, or dad's living interstate or whatever, the research is absolutely clear. Dads need to be close and intimately involved with their daughters' lives. And when I say intimate, obviously I'm speaking about an appropriate level of intimacy, meaning we're in a close relationship with one another because we love each other. Your dad, your daughter, that's the way it works. The research shows that dads have a profound protective influence over their children in terms of they're less likely to engage in delinquent behaviour, they're less likely to drink alcohol or smoke or take illicit substances or even be intimate physically in any kind of a physical way with others. What we see is dads having this incredible protective factor. Is it causal? Well, we don't know, but we know that when dads have a positive relationship with their teen girls and boys, that they grow up to be healthier and safer. They seem to make wiser decisions. So for this mum, I would say, mum and dad, you want to stay as close to her as she'll allow you without crowding her and without forcing her. Instead, it's about navigating the changes and finding ways that you can continue to check in and be close.
Something's just come to mind from my experience, if I can come back and we'll just have a counselling session.
Yeah, great. Excellent.
And you did ask me earlier about, what this was like for me going through. Do you know, one thing that stands out significant for me, my mum came to everything when I was growing up. She was at every netball game. Dad came to some, but she was at every netball game. She was at every school event that she could be at. She was working in the uniform shop. My mum was very present. She was a stay-at-home mum working in my dad's business. But there was a time that I had a significant event. It was a Lions Youth of the Year event, and my mum couldn't come, and my dad went with me. And to me, that was a really significant switch. That was in my mid to late teens, a real switch in my relationship with my dad, because suddenly I went, no, Dad's going to show up for me. And it was a significant moment for our relationship, and one that I always come back to. So is that like... I guess my
Susie
question
was building up on emotion, so what she wants to say is to Justin, speak.
Can you take over for me? No, I think what I'm coming to is how significant is that? Dads don't always get to show up to all the stuff that mums do, but the showing up.
What I love is just how impacted you've been by that experience. It's clearly had, obviously on a show, it's really hard for everybody to see, but this is something that really touches your heart.
Yeah.
This is something that...
I'm teary in the eyes.
Yeah, you look back on that and think, this is really a critical foundation experience that I had with my dad that has established the positivity that we enjoy in our relationship, the things that matter most. The more parents can do that, whether they're mums or dads, the better. What I'm most interested in is finding ways for parents to engage with their kids, and every daughter and every son will respond to different things. For example, I've got one daughter, married and moved out. And every Sunday morning, I meet her at 6 a.m. It's a 30-minute drive, so I'm getting up at 5:15 on a Sunday so that I can drive to her place, and we walk the two dogs for about 2 hours. We walk about 8, 10, maybe even 12 Ks every Sunday morning. And, it's become a highlight of my life. I just love it. I wondered during the teen years if I would ever have a relationship with her a couple of times. This is the parenting expert who's saying this is just too hard. And yet, now that she's older, she's moved out, she's getting on with her life, that Sunday morning experience is just joy. For any parent who's losing hope and wondering, keep at it. Because one day they'll turn 19, 20, 21, 24, and you'll say, hey, do you want to go for a walk and grab a drink afterwards? And she'll say, that'd be nice. And it will change your world. I have a 16-year-old daughter who just wants to sing and be theatrical, and so we find ways that we can sing and dance and be theatrical. I have a netball queen who's 15, which means that I take her to her netball games. That's my Saturday activity. On the sideline, week after week. And I love watching her play. I hate losing my Saturday afternoon, but I love watching her play. It's worth it. Oh, by the way, her other thing, Boggle.
Oh, great. Board games, awesome.
Boggle. Whenever she sees me looking like I might not be doing anything, which, well, I'm always doing something, but she'll say, Boggle? And then she'll run and get the pen and the paper and the Boggle stuff, and we'll play Boggle for 10 or 15 minutes before I go and do other things. Whatever it is that we're able to do to connect with them.
In their world.
It's amazing. And also creating other things like, let's go camping together once every so often. And I would say at least a couple of times a year, even if it's only for 1 or 2 days. Let's go on outings to places that matter to our daughters. Take them to their favourite cafe, buy them their favourite treats. Money does buy relationships to some extent when they're teenagers, because we can give them things. But here's my last response to this really important question about how dads can stay close to their teenage daughters, because that's really what the question was.
Yeah.
And this is probably going to come out of left field, but I think that it's maybe the most important thing that I can say. Dad, if you want to stay close to your teenage girl, respect the women in her life without any hesitation. Make sure that that girl sees you treating mum and auntie and grandma and neighbours and anybody who is a woman with the greatest of respect, with absolute kindness, with whatever level of deference is necessary to show that she matters in your life. When your daughter sees you behaving like that towards other females, she'll feel safe around you because she'll see what a real man is really like.
Dr. Justin Coulson, nice little drop the mic moment to finish us off today. Thank you so much for your time and answering this question.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
For more information on all of Justin's books, podcasts and programs, you can go online to happyfamilies.com.au, and to find out how to have Justin come and speak at your school, organisation or event, go to justincoulson.com.